While a ranger was at work, a lioness walked up to him and left her cub in his care. The shocked man was scared stiff at first, but when he recovered, he did something incredible. David could hardly contain his excitement as he stepped into the vast expanse of Serengeti National Park in Tanzania. It was his first day, and the air was thick with anticipation. The lush greenery and the mysterious rustling of leaves promised a world of adventure that he was more than ready to embrace. When he heard that the park had been facing a surge in poaching activities and was employing more rangers, he knew it was his opportunity to explore the world. Eager to dive into this new adventure, David embarked on his first patrol in a national park. A veteran ranger from the previous day had shared valuable insights about the park routes, but David, fueled by excitement, couldn't resist the urge to explore the terrain for himself. As the sun dipped low in the sky, he stepped onto the winding trails that led deeper into the heart of the park. With each passing moment, David felt a connection with the land he now patrolled. But suddenly, he saw something that stopped him in his tracks. His experienced eyes had spotted movement amidst the dense foliage. David approached with caution, his senses heightened. There, amidst the shadows, he saw a lioness. Her tawny coat blended seamlessly with the dappled sunlight filtering through the leaves. The ranger was taken aback by fear and also by the might of her presence. The lioness seemed aware of the human, and her amber eyes watched him with a mix of curiosity and caution. As he observed from a safe distance, he felt an unexplained connection with this wild creature. However, the mood shifted abruptly. The majestic lioness exhibited signs of distress. Something was amiss. The ranger stealthily circled to investigate further. What he discovered was both heartbreaking and enraging. In a clearing hidden from casual sight, the cruel hand of poaching had left its mark. A sinister snare, designed to entrap and maim, held the lioness captive. She roared in frustration and pushed her powerful muscles against the unforgiving grip of the trap, but to no avail. As the ranger assessed the situation, his eyes widened with a mix of anger and compassion. He could see the raw vulnerability in the eyes of the trapped lioness. Then, a moment of unexpected tenderness unfolded. From the thick underbrush, a small furry bundle emerged. Her cub, instinctively sensing danger, approached its mother, seeking refuge. But what happened next shocked the ranger. The lioness, with an almost desperate urgency, gently nudged her cub toward David. It was as if she understood that her offspring needed protection. The ranger was frozen in doubt. If he took the cub from the mother, he would interfere severely with the laws of nature. His job was to protect and patrol, not to take initiatives like this. But if he turned around and left, both mother and cub would likely perish. However, the prospect of kneeling next to a lioness and freeing her from a trap made David's blood freeze in his veins. What if the predator attacked him next? What if she mistook him for one of the poachers who had caused her so much pain? He should probably call the park authorities and leave the rescue operation to them. However, the look in the lioness's eyes was too pleading to be ignored. So an unspoken decision was made. He had to act swiftly to save not just one life, but two. Carefully cradling the cub in his arms, David could feel the vulnerability of youth, its eyes wide with a mix of fear and curiosity. Meanwhile, the lioness looked at them with a mix of gratitude and sorrow. She seemed to think that David would just leave her there and run away with her cub, but she was wrong. He was going to save her too. The ranger set to work, skillfully dismantling the poacher's trap. It was a tense operation, every second ticking by as he worked against time. The lioness, perhaps sensing his intent, remained surprisingly calm. It was as if she understood that this two-legged being meant no harm. Finally, with a calculated maneuver, the trap released its hold on the lioness. Now that she was free from the poacher's trap, David quickly realized the extent of her injuries. She stood before him, bearing the weight of wounds inflicted by the cruel hands of poachers. Recognizing the urgency of the situation, David swiftly called for backup. The park's medical team responded promptly and quickly met him on site. Gently, they sedated the lioness and carefully transported her to the veterinary clinic within the heart of Serengeti National Park. Under the watchful eyes of the medical team, The lioness lay on the examination table, her labored breaths echoing the gravity of her condition. David held her cub close to his chest, making sure she could see that it was safe and sound in the hands of good humans. The wounds inflicted by the unforgiving snare were not merely physical, but also infected by the rusty metal. The medical team worked diligently, cleaning the wounds and administering antibiotics to combat the spreading infection. It was a race against time. Days turned into weeks as the medical team kept a close vigil over their patient. David, having played a pivotal role in her rescue, felt a deep sense of responsibility toward her. Each day, he visited the veterinary clinic, standing by the lioness's side as if willing her to overcome the odds stacked against her. As the medical team tirelessly tended to the lioness, David found himself saddled with the unexpected responsibility of caring for her cub. The tiny creature, a bundle of fur and curiosity, became the ranger's constant companion. He named it Keto, a symbol of hope and resilience, reflecting the spirit of its injured mother. When David had made the decision to come to Tanzania, he had expected adventure. But the events of the past few days were beyond anything he could have ever imagined. David, originally a ranger in the wilds of Colorado, had decided to do something different for his 45th birthday. Instead of sticking to his familiar trails, he packed his bags and headed to Serengeti National Park. He thought he was used to extraordinary events in nature, but what he was living now as the human caretaker of a wild lion cub was almost too incredible to be true. Shouldering the newfound responsibility of the lion cub, David's routine transformed. His days were spent ensuring Keto's well-being, feeding him, keeping him safe, and providing the warmth and comfort he needed. The recent encounter with the injured lioness intensified David's resolve to protect the inhabitants of the park from the shadows that sought to harm them. Determination burned in his eyes as he set out to thwart the poachers threatening Serengeti National Park. After months of rehabilitation, the lioness was finally ready to return to the wild. The team carefully released her into a secluded area where she could regain her strength. Later, Keto was reunited with his mother in a heartwarming moment. As time passed, David continued his patrols, but he was not forgotten by the lions. One day, the lioness and Keto deliberately crossed his path in what seemed to be an act of gratitude. She marked a tree near him with her paw, a silent but powerful symbol of their bond. The park honored this moment by placing a plaque on the tree, signifying the extraordinary connection between man and beast. Years later, David returned to the U.S., carrying with him the unforgettable memories of his time in the Serengeti. He continued his conservation work, forever changed by his experience with the lioness and her cub. Their story became an inspiration, reminding people of the deep and meaningful relationships that can exist between humans and the wild. What do you think about this story? Would you have done the same in that situation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with others. There are plenty more incredible stories coming your way.